Good morning. My name's Dr. Paul Healey, Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Principals Association.
And I'm Eric Eshbach. I'm the Assistant Executive Director here at the Association. And we've been doing these webinars rather regularly to keep you, our members, up to date on some things that are going on in and around the Commonwealth. And we want to take a moment today to highlight one of our sponsors, our diamond level sponsor, Lincoln Investment. Lincoln has definitely been a huge supporter of the Pennsylvania Principals Association. Lincoln Investment is a full-service broker-dealer and registered investment advisor that provides investment programs and retirement products and services. Lincoln is committed to helping investors build wealth to satisfy a lifetime of investment and retirement needs through their dedicated financial professionals, and no one more dedicated than our representative, Len Rizzotti. So ask you to take a look on our website at the Lincoln Investment sponsorship page. And if you have questions, especially our secondary members
Yes.
that focus on Lincoln, give Len a call. He'll be happy to help you.
Yeah, and I'll just add, it's never too late to start to supplement your retirement, because we know that's going to be changing for the newer people. So even if you can encourage your teachers just to put a little bit of money aside to supplement that retirement when they're in their later years would be substantial.
You know, it was my elementary principal when I was a teacher that gave me the advice, just put $25 back, a paycheck. It has proved very helpful.
I never got that advice. I wish I had it. So. But I did it for my daughter, so she's starting it now. So today what we wanted to do was to focus really on teacher and principal evaluations for school year 2021, because we're getting a lot of questions about SLOs, building level data, what's going to happen. So we want to run through some information that was released from PDE about the 2021 school year and how evaluations will work both for teachers and principals.
And this just came out within the last couple of days.
Yeah, so we're just going to share a couple of slides with you. And as always, if you have any questions, just shoot us an email. So we're going to start with the teachers. So what I want to start with is, if you recall, we're going to really operate the same process that you did for 1920. There was a waiver in 19 and 20 not to use student data or performance level data in the evaluation system, and that was waived. So this year, there was another act, and this was called Act 136 of 20 and 20, which essentially allows the Secretary of Education to waive those requirements for the school year. So what's going to happen? Same as last year, evaluations for teachers will be solely based 100% on the classroom observation and practice side. Now, if you recall and you visualize the wheel, the present wheel is 50% classroom observation and 50% building level data, SLOs, elective data, right? That wheel, just think about the right side of the wheel going away and the left side of the wheel being 100%, right? And that's what will happen for this school year, like it happened for last year. Now, the breakdown is for those 4 domains. It's based on the Danielson, unless you have another approved system through PDE, but most districts are using Danielson, would be these 4 domains: planning and preparation, 20%, classroom environment, 30%, instruction, 30%. Those 2 middle ones were always called the on-stage ones, and the off-stage ones, the final one, professional responsibilities, 20%. The key here is not to use the form that you used in 18 and 19, not to use the form you used in 19 or 20, even though that 1920 form will basically look the same as the 2021 form, but you need to go to the PDE website and, look for the adjusted 2021 form, which is called the 82-1 form for most teachers. Okay.
And this would be for principals.
We're going to get to principals later.
So this is just for the classroom teachers.
This 82-1 form is for classroom teachers. We'll talk about principals in a few minutes. There are, however, some teachers, as you know, that are non-teaching professionals. Right. So you want to hit those.
Yeah, so the non-teaching professionals, their evaluation will be based 100% solely on classroom observation and practice. Now take a look at the breakdown of the Danielson model here and how this changes just slightly. So instead of that, the on-stage, off-stage that you spoke about earlier, Paul, this is, everything is worth 25%. So planning and prep, classroom environment, instruction, professional responsibilities, all get evaluated as 25%. And these people, you're going to use the adjusted 82-3 form. So don't get confused with the 82-1 with your classroom teachers. These are non-teaching professionals. So give me some examples of non-teaching professionals. Guidance counselors,
School nurse, maybe,
Yeah.
they have their own rubrics and stuff, but they still have to fill out a form.
Exactly.
Right. So before we go on, let me just add to this. For both the teachers, the 82-1 and the 82-3, all the other rules still apply. What I mean by that, if you get a distinguished rating, a proficient rating, or a first time needs improvement rating, your overall rating is satisfactory. As you know, there's an overall rating at the end. You're either satisfactory or unsatisfactory for the year based on the numbers, right? So again, if you get a distinguished, a proficient, first time needs improvement, it's satisfactory. What would deem somebody to be unsatisfactory would be a second time needs improvement rating within 10 years in the same certification area. So for example, if I'm a teacher and let's say back in 2016, 17, I got a needs improvement, I would have had an overall rating of satisfactory. This year, if I got another needs improvement, that's still within 10 years, but it's my second needs improvement, that triggers your first unsat.
So Paul, I thought there was a change in that 10-year.
Yeah, that's coming up. We'll get to that. That's coming up. The new law changed that for 21-22.
So that's not till
Yes.
next school year.
Yes, it doesn't come into effect for 21-22, and it reduces that 10 years. I think it's down to 4. I'm pretty sure it's 4. It could be 5, but I think it's 4. The other thing I want to say here too, if you get an overall failing rating, that's automatically an unsatisfactory rating. And again, 2 unsatisfactory ratings, remember, may be grounds for dismissal.
Right.
In the state of Pennsylvania.
That hasn't changed.
Right. All right. So let's go to some frequently asked questions here.
So the first question that comes up is, what about these tenure decisions that occur when we are recommending, as a principal, you're recommending a teacher for tenure in either 2019 or 2020?
Yeah. So the question came up is because we haven't used the full gamut of criteria that we used prior to 19 and 20 on the evaluations, are these evaluations for 19 and 20 and 20 and 21, since it's all classrooms observation, still valid to use to make tenure decisions for an individual? And the answer to that is yes. A district can, make sure to move those people from temporary to permanent professionals using those 2 years of evaluation.
Okay. So another question that has come up is, now that we're doing so much online, so much remote learning in the virtual learning, what about observations by principals to teachers in a virtual environment?
So this question came up last year during the evaluations, and it's circling back around this year again. And again, the answer to this is that each LEA or school district should be working through their collective bargaining agreement and their Act 93 group for principals to come up with, protocols and policies about how observations were going to take place virtually. There is a way to do that, and it can be done. And, we have to evaluate teachers and we have to evaluate principals every single year. That is an state obligation. And you have to look at the 4 domains. So again, that has to be done. So you have to find a way to do that. And hopefully that those discussions took place last year, but it would be prudent to have those discussions again going into 2021, now that we know that 100% of the evaluations will be based on the left side of the wheel again.
Got it. Wow.
Okay.
All right. Well, another question that I've received several times over the last month is, what about the SLOs? Are the SLOs in? Are the SLOs out? Are we following the same model we did back in the 1920 school year? What about SLOs? What about building level data? What's the answer to that, Paul?
They don't count. I'm just going to say it right there. They don't count. They didn't count last year for 19 and 20. They don't count in the evaluation process for 20 and 21. We've gotten this question a lot. You're right. What about SLOs? What about SLOs? They're not a requirement for the evaluation. However, that doesn't mean a school district could not still say, we're still doing SLOs as a part of our process. It just says it's not a criteria for the overall evaluation.
Right, and we know that there are school districts that have decided they're going to continue with the SLO process, and that's their right.
Right, they want to make sure that they want to improve instruction for all students, and one way to do that, some people say, is through an SLO.
Sure. So another question that comes up is, what about the rolling performance data? Does this have any impact on the future?
Yeah, as you know, isn't it 3 year data for the rolling data each year? You know, the last year gets lumped off and you add the new year. So how does that affect the evaluations for the future? The answer to that is we don't know at this point. You know, on the PDE website, it basically says they'll release guidance about this in the future, but that has not been decided. But it does have an impact on evaluations for the future. So if you don't have that 3 year rolling data, what are we going to use?
And Paul, another question that came up that just came to my mind was about keystones and those composite scores. For example, if you're not taking a keystone test in Algebra 1 this year, how are you going to calculate those composite scores? The last time we did a webinar, we said, stay tuned. We haven't heard anything.
Right.
And have we heard anything now?
No, it's still silent on that issue. We're still waiting. The other question we have is, what about PSSA testing? Is that even going to happen? Is it going to count this year? Right now, as you know, through the current national situation, it says yes, testing would continue. It's on the books for mid to late April, I believe, for PSSA testing. Will that change with the new president and the new Secretary of Education? Stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned later this month. We'll see.
I think we have some opinions.
Yes, we do.
On the worth of a standardized test in these unprecedented times.
That's a whole other webinar, isn't it?
It sure is. We'll see if others comply with our opinions. So as far as principal evaluations go, and you being evaluated by your superintendent, director, assistant superintendent, whoever does that evaluation, you're going to use the same process as has been used in the 1920 school year. So it was Act 13 back in 1920. Now it's Act 136, which was passed right before the holidays. It allows the Secretary of Education to waive the performance data requirement. In essence, it does exactly what Act 13 did last year. Just know that evaluations for principals will be solely based on that framework for leadership that we talked about before. And this goes similar to those non-teaching professionals. Again, the 4 domains, the 4 Danielson domains, 25% each. And just know that your evaluation will need to be completed on an adjusted 82-2 form, adjusted specifically for the 2021 school year.
And the same criteria holds true for this. Overall rating is either satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And again, as a principal or as a school leader, if you get a distinguished, a proficient, or a first-time needs improvement, your rating is satisfactory. What moves it to unsatisfactory would be a second needs improvement if you were a principal or a school leader within 10 years, or a failing rating in those 4 areas, right? Which we'd almost have to have all zeros, I believe, or zeros and a couple ones to get a failing rating based on that 100% over there. So just kind of keep that in mind going forward. Now, I don't want to muddy the waters, but I do want to talk about what's coming up in 21-22 as far as teacher and principals evaluation, because as you know, there was new legislation passed a year and a half ago about that. So if you remember, the wheel right now is 50-50. That'll change to 70-30 in the 21-22 school year. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds with this, but there will be other components that will change as well. Because we don't want to muddy the waters, I don't want to take that deep dive right now, but as soon as we get some more guidance on that, we'll be starting to release information on 21-22, because I think there's going to have to be some training around how that evaluation process changes for both teachers and principals going into 21-22. So just to recap, for this school year, think of last school year, same process as last year, 100% on the left-hand side of the wheel, Danielson model, framework for leadership. Go out and capture the new 2021 rating forms, the 82-1 for teachers, the 82.2 for principals, the 82.3 for non-teaching professionals. You want to make sure you have those updated forms going forward.
Yep. Well, a lot of information to consume, but I think the good news is that PDE is listening to what we have to say, what the professionals have to say. We've actually received calls from our representatives at the department, and we, of course, thank them for the work that they do and for taking our concerns and our suggestions into account.
And as always, if you have any questions about the material you heard today, just shoot an email to Eric or I, give us a call. We're teleworking as well because our office is still closed, but if you call into our main number, you will get forwarded to my cell phone. That's great. Just give me a call or email Eric or I at our information is on our website as well. And again, as always, anytime you have a concern or a need, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone or, shoot us an email and we'll respond to you as quickly as we can.
And one last time, we want to thank Lincoln Investment for their sponsorship of our organization. They've done that for many years, and it certainly is appreciated and helpful.
And again, we just want to put a shout out to all principals across the Commonwealth. We know you're doing a fantastic job during these, unprecedented situation with the pandemic. Now we've even heard from principals, they're spending most of their day just doing tracing, just, when there's cases and stuff. And we realize that it puts everything else on the back burner. So thank you for the continued job that you're doing for your communities. We certainly recognize that and appreciate it, and stay healthy and safe as well for both yourself, your school community, and your own families. Thank you.